Hey, my lovely people. Welcome back to A Black Cat's Voice. I'm here with a brand new episode for you guys. And today I just want to talk about environmental products. So, the main point I'm trying to make today is that too many people are running in circles by only following what they see. Now, what I mean by this is that so many people really think they're getting ahead or getting far in life, and they don't even know that they're just going in circles because they're continuing to follow the people, the things, the media, just everything they see that tells them what to do. That's what they're doing. And they're not even realizing that it's not making progress. It's just really keeping them stagnant and at a standstill. But these are my thoughts on that. So, children a lot of times become similar or maybe even exactly the same as whatever people they were around in their daily environment. Now, this can be their parents, their guardians, their siblings, their favorite movie or reality star. Whatever kids are spending the most time watching, observing, following, that's most likely what they're going to become. Like, a lot of times I hear parents say, I know I heard my dad say, do as I say, not as I do. And a lot of the times the kids are going to do the exact opposite. As a kid, you can't tell me, oh, don't lie, lying is bad. And then every time I hear you talk on the phone, you're telling a lie. It's just very contradictory and confusing for the child because I'm very likely to do what I see you do. If you're the person that I look up to for whatever the reason, I'm way more likely to do what I see you doing than whatever you tell me to do. Like, there's this old story. I'm sure you guys have heard it. Even if you haven't, I'll tell it again. But there was this man who was a single father, and he was an alcoholic every single day from the time he woke up to the time he went to sleep. He was consuming some type of alcohol. And this man, being a single father, raised two sons, and one of the sons grew up to become just like his father, to drink, to prioritize alcohol in his daily life. And to this, if he's still alive, to this day, he's a drinker. Now, the other son has never touched a drink in his life, never been to a bar, never wanted to do any of that. And if you ask both sons, why did they become the people that they became, they both said the same thing. I watched my father. I'm just saying all this to say that kids are so precious and really have to be protected. And if you want to ask a child why they're behaving the way they behave, if you want to know the answer to that question, you have to look at their surroundings and really look at their environment. Growing up, I really felt like my dad was very strict on me. And I always felt like it was weird because I didn't feel like I was as bad as he was making me out to be. And I didn't realize until I got older and I had a conversation with one of my dad's best friends. And he told me my dad was never worried about me because of me. He was worried about me because I reminded him a lot of him. So sometimes parents will, overdo it with the kids just because they're so scared their kid is going to turn out how they did, or how they are to this day. A lot of people really don't even realize it, but they embrace demise and destruction. A lot of people, grew up in bad environments, in bad areas, and usually things that are detrimental to their lives are the main things that they do. Like, perfect example, I have friends, I have certain family members who have literally been in the streets my entire life, or for more years than I can remember. And it's like, these people are some of the sweetest people I've ever met, some of the nicest people I've ever met. And when it comes to asking them why they, chose the streets, or why they'll risk going to jail for different things, it's always kind of the same kind of answer that I get, that this is all they know. Their brother was in a gang, or their father was in a gang, or, their parents weren't there for them, so they turned to the streets because the streets, were there to feed them when they weren't getting fed, were there to look out for them when they had nobody looking out for them. And it just really shows how people become products of their environment. Another example of this is, to this day, I know so many women, unfortunately, who are in situations that they're better than. I know women who have been with the same man for years, for decades, and they know they're getting cheated on. They know for a fact their man is cheating on them, and they just stay and they are okay with it. But because that's all they know. When it comes to their sisters, when it comes to their parents, I know people who grew up in their families, I know people who grew up with their parents, and the whole time their dad had a secret kid, secret family. And, when they got older and they became parents and got married and all that stuff, they just continue the cycle. Because if all you see is men cheating on their wives, and if that's what people normalize in your brain, and that's what people tell you is regular behavior, a lot of times people will accept that because they think nothing else exists out there, Me, myself, I can honestly admit that I'm definitely a product of my environment, but I really try not to let that define my person. So growing up, I grew up in the hood. Pretty much every project, every hood or whatever you can name in California, I've lived there, in Southern California. And a lot of times I would just always be ready to leave, always be ready to leave places quickly, or I just always felt like I would need to defend myself, to the point that I wouldn't even realize that I was doing it. I didn't realize until I got a lot older that I developed anxiety from the things, the people, and the situations that I experienced as a child, because it was so traumatic. Even honestly, until I was maybe in my early 20s, I literally thought fighting was the solution to problems. I really did. And when I tell y'all I was taking all fades and accepting applications, I would never describe myself as a violent person, but if you get me there, I'm ready for whatever. And I really used to think that if I beat up this person, or if I allow this person to see that I'm not scared of them, then it'll bring me the desired results. And all these different things that I was doing, I didn't even realize until I truly became an adult that these are learned behaviors. It is never a solution for something someone does to you for you to put your hands on them. It's not normal to be up and just ready to leave, or just ready to escape at any given time when nothing is happening. If you guys listen to one of my episodes in my first season, it's episode 8. It's actually called Hood PTSD, and I just talk about how growing up in a traumatic environment, you really learn behaviors that are really abnormal, and you don't even realize it because this is all you've seen. So I'm just saying all that to say that yes, I did become a product of my environment, but at the same time, I learned that I don't have to be what I see. I don't have to be violent just because I grew up witnessing violence. I don't have to be angry just because I grew up around a lot of angry people. And when it comes to everything in life, it's really a choice. Like, I understand there's certain situations where you can be forced into doing stuff you don't want to do, but at a certain point, you're making a choice because you're choosing, will I continue to do this because I don't want whatever repercussions will come from me not doing it? Or will I make the choice that, hey, I don't care if you kill me. I don't care if you, threaten me or try to hurt me. I'm not going to do what you're asking me to do because that's not what I want to do with my life. And it's like, just because you witness bad things, it doesn't mean you have to become a bad person. Just because you've only seen people get cheated on your whole life, it doesn't mean you're destined to repeat the cycle and be cheated on. Just because you grew up witnessing your parents fight each other or argue with each other, it doesn't mean you have to grow up and be this argumentative, hostile, crazy person. You never have to be a product of your environment. You really don't. Just know, when it comes to anything in life, you are greater. You are greater. You are so much greater than any circumstance. But that's only true if you think it is so. I'm just saying, you guys. And as always, thank you for listening. Take care.